For the national anthem. Greg Carroll caught up with them and has more.
Well, you certainly could think of some tougher assignments. The job for the Goshen High School band was to leave the snowy, blizzardy Michiana area and head here to the desert to hang and compete with some of the best bands in the country as a part of the Fiesta Bowl festivities.
Had a little trouble getting our equipment down, and we didn't get the instruments and so forth until 1 o'clock this morning is when they pulled in finally after going through a lot of stormy weather. We did a music rehearsal outside the stadium, put the two together this afternoon or this morning on the field, and that's really the first we've done that in an awful long time. So it was kind of frustrating, and yet we wanted to do it. We wanted to participate.
But what wasn't on the frustrating side was spending some extended time down in the Valley of the Sun.
It's awesome to see everybody's style, and it's really awesome to be out of all the snow. My parents just called me and they said we got like 3 more inches, and it's 70 degrees here, so that's pretty nice.
Getting away from the blizzard was really one of our main high points of this whole entire thing. Because, I mean, it's so warm out here. I mean, we went outside in short sleeve shirts, and that's not something we normally get to do during the winter.
Even though eventually this group will have to head back to the tundra, memories of a special trip will keep them warm for quite some time.
We are glad to be down here. We worked hard to get here. We had a lot of fun trying to get here and did a lot of fundraisers just to get here itself.
No matter what happens out in the end, we're all going to remember Phoenix. This is a great adventure for all of us, just getting away from home.
All right, say hi to somebody.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad.
Hello.
Love you guys.
Now, even though Goshen came up just a little short in the battle against the other bands, none of the members will trade in this overall great experience they've had in the desert. Reporting from Bank One Ballpark in Phoenix, Arizona, I'm Greg Carroll for News 22 Sports.
All right, thanks a lot, Greg. Well, if I was in high school and in the band, I don't know if I'd rather be in Tempe or Pasadena at this time of year. Well, the Penn Band, they're out in Pasadena with the Rose Bowl. Jeff Schaefer joins us now as part of our extensive team coverage and has more on the Penn Band.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeff Schaefer from Pasadena, California. In a couple of days, the Rose Bowl is going to be played and the Rose Parade that morning. And behind me, one of the participants, the Penn High School Marching Band. In the last couple of days, they've been performing in front of fans and people out here. It's been a lot of work, but they've been enjoying it. The Miller family from Granger watches the Penn High School Marching Band perform today outside the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California, taking pride in son Nicholas, a freshman trombone player, and the entire Penn Band performing here in L.A.
Oh, this is awesome. This is so exciting. We're having a blast. It's so neat to be in Southern California. The kids are having a great time. They're really busy. They're keeping them really busy.
It's been kind of hectic, but it's fun.
The Penn Band members getting some fun in the sun, but they're taking things seriously. They want each step and every note to be right on, to be sharp. Looking forward to that Super Bowl for marching bands, the Rose Bowl Parade, a 4.5-mile trip lasting 2 hours. The Penn Band appears in the middle of the parade.
A little nervous, too.
Why so?
I mean, we're going to be in front of, like, millions of people, so it makes it a little more difficult knowing that. It's been really fun. I mean, we've been out and about a lot. We haven't gotten a whole lot of sleep, but who cares? We're in California.
So as you can see, the pace is picking up here in Pasadena and Los Angeles, not only for Purdue fans, but the Penn High School Band that'll be performing in that parade on Monday morning before the game. So for right now, I'm Jeff Schaefer in Los Angeles. Back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Jeff. We're going to take a break right now, but more to come, including David Hall. He'll talk about both bowl games. It's coming up next.
The right people, the right atmosphere, and the right food. When you make your neighborhood Martin Supermarket your party headquarters, it'll be a special occasion, no matter what the occasion. You can pick up your party supplies and do it yourself. Or you can let our deli catering department...
Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to the 112th Tournament of Roses Parade. I'm Rob Weller, along with Rebecca Coles and Paul James. Happy New Year's to you two guys.
Thank you.
And we're about to witness the biggest Rose Parade ever.
More than 100 amazing floral floats, marching bands, and high-stepping equestrian units are all lined up just down Orange Grove behind us. getting ready to parade through the streets of Pasadena.
And we're going to show you each and every single one. In fact, we had a chance to tour all the floats, to visit the float barns, chat with the designers and the decorators, and see how they make these picture perfect for the parade.
Yeah, they've kept you guys busy this week.
You know, and this is so much fun because I don't think what people realize is that every single inch of the float must be covered in organic material. And it's not as if you just slap on a bunch of flowers. People have so much pride in the work they do, meticulously placing beans and pods and spices.
Really great. And, Paul, you got some good glue lessons. And
you know, I got a little scared being so close to some of them. I was afraid I was going to damage something.
Well, you were climbing around up on the scaffolding there one time. I thought you were going to fall off. Look at the irises. It's so beautiful there, watching all of this being put together.
Incidentally, the theme of this year's tournament parade is the fabric of America. Now, that's intended to celebrate the rich and multifaceted cultures that make us such a great nation. So all the floats were designed with that theme in mind.
We're just a minute or so away from the start of the parade, but last night about midnight, all the floats were finally lined up here on the parade route.
And, you know, they've been working on these floats for the past 2 weeks, but even still, last night they were doing last-minute touches. This morning, I'm sure they're still placing flowers. Look at them hanging the baskets, trimming here and there. The mechanics busy at work underneath, making sure everything runs.
And the temperature has been a little warm here this week, Paul. What's that meant?
The weather was a bit of a concern, which meant that they very often had to delay placement of some of the flowers, especially those in little water vials, until the last minute.
Yeah.
Now, in addition to you at home getting to watch the parade on HGTV, there's about 1 million viewers here. And last night, about a quarter of them, they were celebrating New Year's Eve. And then what they do is they bring their sleeping bags out and they sleep right next to the street. And some of them even do a little culinary work out here.
Oh, some chili, some brats.
That's something Paul can definitely relate to.
And the rules here in town, they can start at noon the day before. So some of these people have been there a long time.
And they do start at noon, right at noon.
HGTV is at the very beginning of the parade route, and here is the United States Marine Corps Mounted Color Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, number 112 is underway. Let's take a look as they march down now Orange Grove Boulevard. And a beautiful, beautiful day it is in Pasadena. Clear skies. Yeah, it's going to be 75. This is the United States Marine Corps Mounted Color Guard. They continue. They've existed, by the way, for 33 years, Rebecca and Paul.
That's great.
And their practice of riding wild Mustangs, they've got 2 new Mustangs this year that they've added, and both are 3 years old. They're making their debut here in Pasadena, California today.
Rob, that would be a 97, 98 Mustang?
Well, this is a great shot because you can see everything is lined up now down Orange Grove, and this Mustang unit is making their turn now onto Colorado Boulevard. It's 105 degrees. It's a big, big turn. And this is the Pasadena City College Honor Band from Pasadena, California. 213 total members. And their director is Dr. James Arnwine. Let's listen to the Pasadena City College Honor Band. We've got the F-18. All right, we've got the F-18 flyovers. There they are. This is the United States Navy Strike Fighter Squadron 125. These are F-18 Tomcats from Reeves Field at Naval Air Station in Lima, California. They're going right over about 1,000 feet over the parade route, flying right over 1 million people right now. They'll do it again this afternoon at the actual Rose Bowl, which is only about a mile from here. You can almost see it in the background there to the left of your screen. And look at those guys in that tight formation. Oh, they're doing a good job. These are the Rough Raiders, and they are doing a terrific job. Oh, look at that blimp view, too. And as the Pasadena City College Honor Band finishes with Everything's Coming Up Roses, this parade is definitely coming up roses. And now, this is the combined unit from the United States Marshals and the Long Beach Mounted Police. It's America's first federal law enforcement agency. The members of this charter posse of U.S. Marshals, they ride Palomino horses. Look at those Palominos lined up. My heavens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows of them with silver sterling tack. They're dressed in circa 1800 Western costumes. They were formed in 1987.
Beautiful animals.
You could see some of the million people expected to be at the parade route today, lined up here. We've got equestrian units, bands, and lots of floats.
Now, the horses don't have a problem getting around that corner, do they?
No, but look, they want to keep that good, tight turn.
This is what's going to be a problem.
All right, our first float, and it is the Symbols of America. Remember, the fabric of America is our theme, and this is sponsored by the American Honda Motor Company, and it's our first float and our first trophy winner. This is the theme trophy winner, best presentation of the Rose Parade theme.
And it includes two great symbols of America, the Stars and Stripes, and this magnificent 55-foot eagle. This is an amazing recreation of an eagle done with pampas grass at the head there, but the wings were incredible up close as well as afar. They comprised of a lot of different elements, in particular magnolia leaves. Now, what was interesting about this is that magnolia leaves aren't one of those materials that you readily come by and can just order and receive in a box. So they sent out volunteers here at the parade to rake up no less than 12,000 magnolia leaves, which were then carefully applied to the wings. And the magnolia leaves, in addition to flaked coconut, spices, palm fiber, and dockweed, make up that gorgeous detail.
And following this beautiful first float is our Grand Marshal. This is Tom Brokaw, who is the Grand Marshal for the 2001 Tournament of Roses Parade 112. And he's joined by his wife, Meredith, and his family. There's Tom. Look at that. Nicknamed Old Yeller, by the way, the Grand Marshal's vehicle that they're in was originally used as a tour bus in Yellowstone National Park. And guess who used to drive it? Gary Cooper, before he got into movies. It's a beautiful, beautiful bus. And you can see our shot from the blimp.
See, we're waiting for the paratroopers to drop from the sky, so we'll keep an eye there. Obviously, they're not around the blimp, but I would imagine any minute now we'll see them coming out.
The San Gabriel Mountains in the background, and our next float, it is on the road to freedom. The sponsors are the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and it is also the Judges Special Trophy. That's the Outstanding Showmanship and Dramatic Impact Award, and it is terrific. Rebecca, you got a chance to see this up close and personal.
Yeah, this is a great one. Bob Hope represents the military. He has for years spent his life traveling to visit veterans all around the world. He himself has luggage on the float here from World War II, Korea. Take a look at this hat here, and his head, this was built to scale. So if Bob Hope was 45 feet tall, well, this is exactly what he'd look like. His nose would be 16 inches long. Sorry, Bob. And as we look down on the Jeep here, all the color that you see, the camouflage, is done with beans. We're talking mung beans, soybeans, black beans, and kidney beans. Now, the tire, this looks amazingly like rubber, and we were able to recreate that with onion seed and seaweed. The rims are actual shimmering silver leaf, which looks like chrome right there along the rims, shimmering in the light.
It's unbelievable how they apply this and how great it looks.
Yeah, and we should mention here, Bob Hope did, or this float did have a little war wound. His ear was crushed by scalpels.
Oh, goodness.
This is the Jamestown High School Marching Band. And Jamestown, North Dakota, here's your gang. All 180 members of the 230-member band are here today, including 3 drum majors and 24 flags. And as we listen to the band play, the Golden Knights United States Army Parachute Team is landing along the Rose Parade route, as well as in the Rose Bowl Stadium a little later today. Now the Golden Knights, here you can see them coming down. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in our shot right there. They're going to land right here on the parade route. Oh my heavens, they're right above us. Look at this. Now this team performs about 8,500 live aerial demonstrations every year. They've jumped in all states, 47 countries. These folks know what they're doing. Look at this, Rebecca. I think one of these guys is going to land right on our head here.
Wouldn't that be great?
You know, Rob, Rebecca, I'm thinking maybe this is how we should make our intro next year.
That would be nice. Look at this, going right down to where Bob Hope
Look at that right in front. You're going to see him land right on the corner of Orange and Colorado. Look at this.
Right on the money.
Perfect.
Woo! That is great.
There's one down. Who's next?
Outstanding.
There's another one right above us.
Let's see, do you think they have a wage on who's going to get close, or a little wager here?
Look at, here comes number 2. They've got that little mark right at dead center of the turn.
There you go. Let's see. How is it going to do? Oh, slow him down. Oh, yeah. Yeah, nice and soft.
Beautifully done.
The Knights are made up of 90 men and women from diverse backgrounds, and they are considered some of the best skydivers in the world. Here comes number 3. How's the spot? Oh, yeah.
Oh, listen to the crowd. They're going crazy.
Look at this. I mean, they're literally right over us. We have seen some fun things. We've had some great flyovers. We've had the B-2 bomber last year, the F-18 Tomcats and the Stealth. But this is unbelievable. Talk about up close and personal.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
And there they are, the U.S. Army Golden Knights parachute team. 5 successful jumpers. And they landed right in front of the Bob Hope float.
I could do that.
Yeah, right.
I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
And Bob's waving to him just like he did to the troops in World War II,
Look at
Korea,
golf clubs on the back there.
Vietnam, yeah.
Of course, it's famous golf clubs.
So while they get the parachutes out of the way, we'll be able to listen to the Jamestown High School Marching Band once again from Jamestown, North Dakota. It's warmer here than it is in Jamestown, gang, if you're watching us there.
It looks like the guys are saluting Bob Hope, or Bob Hope is saluting the guys.
Yep. These are our troopers, paratroopers. This is a very nice touch.
Yeah.
There's the salute.
Oh, and look at the animation of the float. I keep referring to him as Bob Hope, but it would be the rendition.
That's Bob Hope, who is 97 years old. Bob, we know you're watching today. I hope you're watching HGTV.
We love you. Some of the veterans on the float. A lot of the veterans helped put together this float. In fact, I saw them putting one of the emblems together. I bet there were probably 7 grown men belting out the Marine Corps hymn.
You know,
in place to be.
In 1969, Bob Hope was the Grand Marshal, and he wanted to be able to watch the parade on TV while he rode in it. He had so much electronic gear in his car that it broke down halfway through the parade route, and they got 5 long-haired, barefoot teenage boys, offered to push his car the rest of the parade route, 5 miles, which they did. He gave them his Rose Bowl tickets, and they got to sit in the VIP booth.
That's his style.
Okay, now we're going to go back to the Jamestown, North Dakota High School Marching Band. Let's listen.
Hit it, gang.
following the Jamestown High School Marching Band, which, by the way, as the bands come by, we're going to try to pipe down here so you can always listen to these kids. This is the wonderful outdoor world of the WOW Equestrian Team, and they feature 8 youngsters who were chosen to represent the Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks based on their outstanding participation in the program. The WOW program, which was launched in Los Angeles and is expanding to cities across the country, introduces city children to the wonders of outdoor recreation and environmental education through an overnight camping experience in their local city parks. And there, those kids, and they're having a great time, and they're excited. For more in-depth information about the parade today, why don't you log on to the HGTV website at hdtv.com. You're going to find great details for each entry, and I'm talking about the floats, the bands, and the equestrian groups, plus everything you want to know about roses, how to grow them, dry them, eat them, yum. Again, that's HGTV.com.
Here's a winner, Rob.
It is a winner. This is the Growing Together, sponsored by the Bayer Advanced Garden, and it is the Fantasy Trophy winner. Best display of fantasy and imagination. Paul, you had a good chance to look at these flowers.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. The boy and girl, so lifelike there. And back in the back there, all the dancing flowers decorated with all kinds of largely dried materials, sweet rice, seeds of one form or another. The pansies in the foreground there, I really like those in part because I guess I was thinking that, you know, pansies are probably one of the few flowers still in bloom in much of the country.
You had a chance to see this float up close and personal on our making of the Rose Parade, 2001 Rose Parade, a little bit earlier today, and it's fun to see that we had a chance to see how that worked out, and it won a trophy. That's, by the way, Rachel Warby is conducting. There's Rachel, and she is the conductor of the Pasadena Pops. Yeah, good shot of Rachel. Look, a good smile there today.
Yeah.
And why not everybody's smiling today? It's already about 60 degrees here, 8 o'clock in the morning in Los Angeles.
And she feels very happy orchestrating the flowers.
Yeah, she's having a great time.
The flowers, by the way,
on a
are
resume.
17.5 feet high. Now, our next float is titled In the Good Old Summertime, and it's sponsored by BP. Rebecca?
This one takes us back to the 40s and 50s where everyone went to the park. And, of course, in the parks we had the gazebos. Back then we had, of course, the windmills, and we still have them here today. A delivery truck is on this float as well that's loaded with produce and vegetables. And in this case, it's the actual thing because this is organic material, so they can use the real thing.
Look at that. Isn't that look great?
Yeah, it is great. You can see the little carriage there? There's a little baby there. Up close, you would not believe the detail in here. In fact, I understand the judges were very impressed with that baby. Of course, look at the trees dripping with orchids, Sonia roses. The bark on the tree is covered with melaleuca bark. Beautiful.
So beautiful. And now the Benicia High School Panther Marching Band from Benicia, California. You know, these folks have even performed at the White House. Let's listen. Look at that nice turn they're making. And following them is the Tanner Appaloosa Group. The name Appaloosa, of course, originated from a palouse, or a spotted horse. And look how they've got them decked out. Isn't that beautiful? The Appaloosa has 2 color patterns. Got a white blanket with spots over the hips, or spots covering its entire body, a little bit like a leopard.
I continue to be impressed with your equestrian knowledge,
Thank
Rob.
you very, very much. I rode it here personally. This is El Camino Real, a salute to California missions, Paul. It sponsored is 21st Century Insurance, and it's the Governor's Trophy. This is the best depiction of life in California.
This is a pretty one. This is has a vibrant tapestry that is woven through the body of the float, which represents the Hispanic culture. This is called a serape. You can see the stripes of yellow moms. We have also a lot of straw flower in this. This is the California poppy in a huge size. There you see crushed straw flower. A beautiful woman enjoying the ride on the float as well. There's 160 homing pigeons that will be released through the parade's route, 60 of them coming off right now. Oh, great.
And the previous 5 floats have all been winners that 21st Century Insurance has put together. There go the homing pigeons.
Oh, there they go.
I hope they remember how to get home.
They will. As you can see in the background, the mission walls and the fountains and the steps, this was really incredible detail here as well. They used the stairs here with pistachios. The walls have a very stucco appearance. That was made with crushed walnuts and oatmeal.
It's 28 feet high, which presents a bit of a problem a little further down on the parade route because there's a bridge that's 17.5 feet high. So what's even more impressive is the fact that they have to be able to bend this down and to get under that bridge before they get off the parade route. And you see presenting the Royal Court here. These are the Royal Court for the 112th Tournament of Roses Parade, sponsored by Macy's. Coming right down Orange Grove Boulevard. That's the start of the parade right there. They just crossed the line. And our Royal Court, clockwise from bottom left, I don't know if you'll be able to see them there. Princess Nini Chang, Princess Allison Udi, Princess Elizabeth Cook, Princess Leslie De La Vega, Princess Crystal Uribe, Princess Amber Lockett.
And, of course, at the top of the float, the Rose Queen, Michelle Jacobs. I had a chance to look at this float, and I tell you, it was nicely done. The deck impressed me. A lot of the times you don't think about the deck being richly decorated, but thousands of red roses and carnations flown in from Guatemala. There's lots of status and coconut that make up the ribbon, and, of course, the crowning glory, other than the Queen herself, the crown itself, which is made up of straw flower, macaroon coconut, and eucalyptus leaves.
Many of these flowers have been in preparation literally since last April. April and May, they were planting these. And when you say that the flowers came in from Guatemala, they just came in at the last minute, the last couple of days.
Absolutely. They make the run to the airport, bring them back here, and start putting them on.
Paul, here are the classic curly riders. I know always one of your favorites. They're making their 16th appearance in the Rose Parade. The marshal of this group is riding the world's largest American Bashkir curly, who stands 18 hands high, weighs 2,200 pounds.
That's a big horse.
That's more than all 3 of us after last night's dinner. You know, they were discovered just about 100 years ago roaming the wild mountains of Nevada. That's where they got these big Bashkir curlies.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Real unusual horse. Curly coat, affectionate nature, though. They're just little puppy dogs almost.
Beautiful animals.
Yeah, very intelligent, real durable. Oh, this is a great float, Paul. This is Building a Family. It's sponsored by Kiwanis International, Festive Snow Family, and a fun day. But, you know, it's hot already. I'm worried these snow guys are going to melt.
Well, I think they'll be all right, Rob, because the snow people are made up of crushed sweet rice, straw flowers, and everlasting white straw flowers. But look at the incredibly rich detail in these sweaters that they're wearing. I mean, it's unbelievable to me how you can start with all these raw materials and create these wonderful things. Now look at here, a smile. We've got pine cones. Another smile recreated with some cinnamon bark. It was a joy to visit this float. And certainly not one of the biggest ones in the parade. Nevertheless, very impressive and beautifully done. There's even a real tree toward the back. That's a noble fir.
And right in back of that really neat little float is the Coppell High School Band. Coppell, Texas, are you ready? Here they are, and they're dressed out in their whites. They look so good. They've received first place in more than 14 competitions this year alone, in addition to being named the best music department in the nation for 2000. Let's listen. Their director of instrumental music is Scott Mason and Albert Lowe. In Texas, you know, they take their bands and their football very seriously. In fact,
they do.
You know, that for the Rose Parade, they divide the country up into regions. And there are so many bands in Texas that Texas is literally its own region. Great glimpse shot.
Look at them march around that corner, keeping that line.
Oh, Coppell, Texas, are you feeling good about that band? You should be. Now let's take a look at the First Americans. It sponsors the Countrywide Home Loans. This is the National Trophy winner. Best depiction of life in the United States. And Rebecca, you were taking a look at
I got to tell you, this is one of my favorites because of the intricate detail that went in to bring this float to life. And to see it up and close, these buffalo, this is made with palm fiber. Palm fiber is a bark. When you strip it off, it's like a loose muslin. But when you take a comb to it, you create this very coarse fiber texture here that is perfect for the bison on this float here. Take a look at the eyes. Of course, here they use some poppy seed. They also use onion seed. Now, the headdress is unbelievable. It's covered in white dendrobium orchids, the florets. Coconut flakes also used. There's bearded wheat on the edges that give it that tufted look. Nori seaweed, which is the dark color that we see there. And look at, I mean, it goes from one end of the float to the back end of the float. There's some ceremonial shields on the side that when you look up close, it looks like a beaded shield. It is absolutely unbelievable.
And when you talk up close, we brought the tight lenses today for the Home and Garden cameras so we can get it nice and close so when you and Paul are describing things, you can really see it.
Yeah, I tell you, that float makes me a little homesick.
Yeah, and on this float, some of the things I talked about, the bearded wheat, we saw this a lot on the floats here. Take a look at this. It's wheat, and see the texture here? This is perfect to give it that very nice, coarse feeling, and this was used on a lot of the animals for the raccoons. You can see that there.
You know, you guys took all the samples. Was there enough of the floats?
Well, you know, in some cases, no. Here's a pod. This is very interesting. We're not sure. We were told this is called a suru.
Suru pod.
We're not sure where this came from. Paul was up all night last night.
I'm guessing it's tropical, but I don't want to commit.
Very cool. This, of course, used in many different ways. This here is a Chinese spice that was used to create some red.
Well, I wonder if the new Buffalo Soldiers are using any of that Chinese spice. Here's the new Buffalo Soldiers. It's a historical reenactment group, Rebecca and Paul. And the goal is to educate and enlighten the public about the lives and exploits of the Company H 10th Regiment United States Cavalry that served this country between 1867 and 1871. Look at those guys. They do a good job bringing real-life history to us. That regiment, by the way, built a lot of the key forts and roads, and they also guarded rail and stage and telegraph lines everywhere. Hey, here's one big Blue Ribbon winners.
Oh, okay.
In fact, that's the title, Blue Ribbon Winners. It's sponsored by Subway Restaurants, and it won the Humor Trophy, Most Amusing Float.
Well, for anybody who goes to the county fair or participates, whether it's county or state fair.
Like you have.
I do. I like to take my vegetables and put them in the fair trying to win blue ribbons. They will certainly understand this float because that's what it's all about. You can see here, first of all, we have these roosters and hens on the float dancing around. Look at the tail. That's some uva grass, Paul?
Yep.
Uva grass, we can't grow that, but where I live. But the skin tone, of course, is made with a crushed sweet rice. They blend in a little bit of cinnamon. You can see on the side of this float a lot of delicious food here. We have pies down there. The pies, there's chocolate chip cookies, baskets of food, breadsticks in the basket. The baskets were woven with raffia. We have canisters that have blue stats. You can see the blue ribbon there. And look how big the canister is. You can see the people sitting on the float, so you can see the scale of some of these floats.
And those are real peaches in that basket. Where did they get real peaches this time? Very nice. This is the Danvers High School Falcon Marching Band from Danvers, Massachusetts, 171 members. The director is Ronald A. Parsons. enjoying the Danvers, Massachusetts band. Oh, When I Grow Up. That's the title of this float series. It's actually sponsored by the city of Alhambra, California, just down the street of mine here from Pasadena. And the 6 mini floats depict an all-important American profession: police women, firefighters, construction worker, astronaut, nurse, and rancher. Right, Paul?
Rancher, which is close enough to Gardner. And, you know, I think I was picked to look at this one because I've always had difficulty growing up, you know, but I really enjoyed this, in part because there were so many children involved in preparing and decorating these floats. Look at all the mums that you see there. And again, little kid volunteers all over the place while they were putting these together.
These are powered by ATVs, little, you know, the motorcycle kind of freewheelers.
Right, little ATVs.
Yeah.
I tell you, one of the things that I thought was so appropriate about the use of so many mums is that I think mums are a great way to introduce children to flower gardening. They're an easy plant to grow. They grow in much of the United States, in the ground, in containers, lots of colors. So I think it's particularly appropriate. I really love the space shuttle there. Look at that.
The drivers, unlike most of the drivers in the parade, these guys can see 360 degrees. They're sort of in the little bodies there, and they've got a little screening around them so they can see 360 degrees because they're not connected, and they've got to make the turn here in just a minute or two, and they don't want to bump into each other. Most of the float drivers have observers on the front, Paul and Rebecca, and you know, we saw the little tight spaces that they're in.
Now, is this the first time we've seen individual floats like this together as one?
I'm thinking a couple years back, no, we saw something, the ATVs, but this is a very clever use of it.
Right, I imagine a lot more work, too.
Big football game coming up today, 1:30 Pacific time. The Boilermakers of Purdue against this team, the Washington Huskies. University of Washington, the Pac-10 Conference against the Big Ten Conference, and this is the University of Washington Rose Bowl float.
And this is the float that they've been using for many, many years to represent the Pac-10. The football, of course, they're getting ready to sing here. The football and the stripes on the football, the laces and the goalposts are made with silver leaf, and we have some crushed straw flower. A lot of mums on the side, and of course the colors here are purple and gold. So for purple status was used. For gold, we have the straw flower, which you can see in the flags and on the goalpost. Basically what they do is they take the straw flower and crush it up, put it in a blender, and almost not quite make a powder, and then glue the post and throw it on and hope it sticks.
Now, making the noise in back of all the cheerleaders in the float is the University of Washington Husky Marching Band from Seattle, Washington. 249 members plus one Husky dog. Director is Dr. J. Bradley McDavid. Go Huskies! There's a lot of them down there. 87th Rose Bowl is coming up today. This is the 112th parade, 87th Rose Bowl. The games really started about 1920, 1921. This school? Did I happen to go to this school? Yes, I did.
Did you start to wave there?
I was amazed at how restrained you were with that, you know?
Unlike Rebecca Coles, who last year was drooling when the Wisconsin team came down, making a spectacle of herself, I'm trying to some modicum of composure here.
So I probably shouldn't mention it on January 3rd. My Oklahoma Sooners will be playing in the Orange Bowl.
No, because here comes recognizing tomorrow's leaders, Paul. None of this football stuff. Sponsored by Rotary International and the winner of the Volunteers Trophy. That's the best floral design of the parade theme under 35 feet in length.
Oh, I had so much fun touring this one. The hats, starting with the hats. There's a bunch of raffia at the top, which is incidentally is made from the leaves of the raffia palm that are dried. There's coconut fiber and pampas grass. Look at the rich detail.
That is unbelievable.
But look at the hair. This blew me away.
What is
it? The hair is made with saffron. The fall crocus, Crocus sativa, those little stigmas are individually and by hand harvested. Oh, lots of saffron there, very expensive. Hey, they're having a good time on there.
The riders you're seeing there, these are the RILO winners, and those are the Rotary Youth Leadership Award winners.
The raft is beautiful, too, with coconut fiber ropes, Metalluca paper bark, which really gives it such a realistic appearance. It's beautifully done. And at the ends, they used okra seeds to represent the cup portion. The little dog there, how beautifully done. And there's a lot of safflower seed on this float. And I was chatting with Larry Kane of Charisma Floats, who was one of the people responsible for this one. I said, Larry, safflower, don't the birds attack it? He said, you know, by the time we get it put away, the birds are all over the thing, and they're eating all the safflower seeds.
Terrific float. This is the Painted Magic Pro Rodeo Drill Team, riding an eye-catching American painted horse. All-female group, by the way. They excel in precision drill team. They're a precision drill team unit, I should say. They've won first-place honors in various contests. They've participated and been awarded in numerous parades. Making the turn onto Colorado Boulevard off of Orange Grove. And coming up immediately after the parade, it's HGTV Showcase 2001. Your chance to sample some of HGTV's best shows and specials, starting with a fascinating look at some extreme homes from around the world. And this is titled The Birthplace of Democracy. It's Order of AHIPA. The Order of AHIPA's float provides a view of the Lyceum in Athens.
And Rob, the Lyceum structure itself is recreated with something they call a granite mix, which is a combination of onion seed, rice, sometimes other materials are thrown in, but it gives it this incredible lifelike appearance as if it were truly some granite or stone. It's beautifully done. 12,000 roses of 11 different varieties. There you see them in that beautiful Greek key urn or vase. Nicely done. They had a beautiful float last year. This year they've done a great job as well.
As we were touring around in the barns the last few days, sometimes you have to literally go up and touch some of these because they look so real. You think, well, they haven't covered this up
Oh,
yet.
yeah, they've got it down to a science.
This is the Highland High School Marching Band from Gilbert, Arizona. This is probably the only band that thinks this weather's cold. 168 of them, and their director of bands is Eric L. Hampler. Let's listen. Goodyear blimp overhead. Of course, we're getting shots from the Goodyear blimp. All the cameras located around the parade route. We threw in a couple of extra cameras this year so we can get close-ups of the floats. You can see the materials that Paul and Rebecca are describing. Really amazing. You think, gee, they don't have to keep adding more materials, and yet perfection seems to always be the theme. They add a few extra beams along the edge of something here or there.
Yeah, always go the extra mile. It's all about pride. Okay, while we're listening to the band, we wanted to show you a couple of materials that you'll see in the floats here quite often.
We'll see that there's a float coming down. We're going to see them in just a second. Don't worry.
Well, this is the Melaleuca. This is the paper bark used to simulate a wood look. It actually is wood. This is a very fast-growing tree native to Australia, kind of weedy in the, if it likes where it's growing. But you can see this exfoliating bark. They peel it.
Just like paper.
Wow, that's what they put on.
And this is Ming moss, which actually can be harvested in the local, I believe, the San Gabriel Mountains around here. I particularly am fond of this because of its color here.
Yeah, nice gray. Gives a nice shimmering color.
This is the Chinatown USA float, sponsored by China Airlines, and it's the International Trophy winner for the most beautiful entry from outside of the United States.
This one, again, you know, this was great just because of the detail. Of course, Chinese New Year, the Festival of the Dragon, always seeing the dragon out here loaded with color. Mainly we see a lot of yellows, we see purples, we see reds. The yellows, of course, with mums and the straw flower. Red with roses. We also have cranberries that was used on this float as well. And hopefully They won't be out too long because, as you know, with fresh cranberries, as the warm weather heats up, they start bleeding. We don't want to see that. And, of course, you can see the animating head there of the dragon. Lots of greens here. That was made with split peas. So now you know what to do with that. We were told, too, with the cranberries, they use 75 pounds. They used them at the last minute, had to run to the grocery store to get them, and the store owner had to go find more to help them out.
I got a couple of bags left over from Christmas. Could have loaned them. Yeah. Very beautiful float. This is the California State Firefighters Association, and they're dressed in traditional fire uniforms, riding historical horse-drawn carriages. These firefighters represent the 5 centuries of the fire service. And they travel statewide in their interest of fire prevention, which is really important out here in California. Won more than 70 first place awards, and man, the chrome on that burner, on the stack on that burner, is so bright.
And we need to say that's real chrome.
That's real chrome.
Not covered with silver leaf. That's the real deal.
Look at that. Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, it is. Look at the horses.
Today's group, by the way, includes representatives from many of California's fire departments, including 3 local fire chiefs from Pasadena and the city and county of Los Angeles. It's good when those guys all get along. They're so close together.
And, of course, they have the Dalmatian. You know why they use Dalmatians with firefighters? They're the only dogs that were not afraid of the trucks and the sirens. So that's why Dalmatians are used.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
You guys will never cease to amaze me. I'm so impressed.
You know what doesn't like a Dalmatian?
A cat.
Is a cat. Cat's Rule is the title of this next float coming up, sponsored by Whiskas. And remember, our theme is Fabric of America, and these kitties are playing on definitely some Americana. That's the computer.
Can teach me a few things.
Look at how fast that head moves.
Wow.
The hydraulics are incredible, aren't they, Paul?
They are, and that's Chuck right there, by the way. Chuck the cat. He's made up of pampas grass, crushed orange lentil seed, and look at him go. Now,
and look at his paw.
I actually was there while they were recreating the whiskers for Chuck as well as for Marvin the Gray. And there's Marvin.
Oh, look at that face.
Look at that. Now, Marvin, he's made up of a lot of the Ming moss that I think you just had a chance to see, as well as crinkled seaweed, which is beautifully done. And he's got that 10-jointed tail in the back. Look at that realistic movement in the tail there.
Unbelievable.
Done.
The hydraulics. You know, we're looking at artistic stuff, we're looking at floral stuff, we're looking at hydraulic stuff. These floats are really an amazing compendium of a lot of technology and artistry.
That computer monitor, that's yellow straw flowers and lots of different seeds. And around the base of the float, all kinds
of... Oh, wow. Look at the keyboard.
Look at the keyboard.
You mentioned crinkled seaweed. What? Usually it's flat.
I know, but it was as if they took something like a nori, like a regular black seaweed, for instance, and gave it a crinkled effect. I'm not sure how it was done, but it was beautifully used. I was going to mention there, we saw the cat. We also saw the mouse there on the computer screen.
That was Marvin playing with the mouse. Very cute. Whiskas. Good job.
First time. Glad to have him.
Hey, here's the Spruce Creek High Steppin' Hawks marching band. They're from Port Orange, Florida. Nice to have them out here on the West Coast. There's 213 total members, and their director is Andrew Kidd. And welcome to Pasadena. My high school band was about 6 of us. Port Orange, Florida, making the turn onto Colorado Boulevard. Spruce Creek High Steppin' Hawks marching band, members of part of the reason their school was recently named as one of the top high schools in the country by Newsweek magazine. Oh. Man, I bet you they are proud of that. You know, all these bands have to figure out a way to raise money to come out to California, except for the local bands, of course. Even they have to raise some money. They
car washes?
These guys sold over 30,000 candles.
Oh,
way to raise money.
Well, in some parts of Florida, they may be using those candles if the weather keeps up.
Can you believe the weather this year? What is going on? Except for out here, 75 degrees expected today, and we're looking at the Bringing Cultures Together float, sponsored by Panda Express. This float has won the tournament special trophy, Rebecca Paul. Exceptional merit in multiple classifications. Wow.
Don't they deserve it? Now, this is the one that I referenced earlier about maybe having a difficult time making the turn, but this is so beautifully done. You've got all of these different floats representing the 6 populated continents. I asked why, given all the sweet rices available, we didn't go ahead and do one for Antarctica, but they said they were focusing strictly on the populated continents. But if you look at all the detail, the drums there in the African exhibit were really outstanding. There's Mushu, the Gila monster, as part of the American float, and he is so beautifully done. Took 4 people, 64 hours, and a lot of beans, let me tell you. The Boomerang, rich detail there that was so gorgeous. And now we're going to actually see how well the float can negotiate the turn here.
Paul, the float, this is the longest float in the parade. It's 120 feet long, and it's got to make this turn, which is 105 degrees. And they've got spotters on here talking to the driver in front, and the spotter can see, the driver can't. So the spotter's saying things like, a little bit more right, a little bit more right, keep going, keep going. A real short little bursts of information, and then they say, hey, nice going, you made the turn. You can see the parade route that they've got about another 5 miles after you see him here on HGTV. This is the Spirit of the West Riders, and the unique equestrian unit blends history and entertainment. Hey, they've got a guy on here who's taught a lot of fancy gun handling. His name is Phil Spangenberger, and he taught Will Smith how to handle his gun in Wild Wild West, and then he went over and taught Mel Gibson how to do it in Maverick. Actually, Maverick came before Wild Wild West, so he's a pretty good gun handler.
Spangenberger, that's a pretty classic cowboy name, don't you think, Ron?
It is. A lot of cowboys named that. For more in-depth information about the parade today, log on to the HGTV website at hdtv.com. You're going to find great details for each entry, the floats, the bands, and the equestrian groups, plus everything you want to know about roses. And if you're watching on web TV, you can actually rate each float by simply clicking on the interactive bar. That's hgtv.com.
Now we move into Wings of Glory.
It is the Wings of Glory. This won a trophy, didn't it, Rebecca?
Yes, it did. The Past President's Trophy, most innovative use of both flora and non-floral materials. This, of course, salute to the Audubon Society. We have 10 birds on this float. You can see the cardinal. Of course, this would be the male cardinal. He is draped in beautiful red colors. We have the finch up front, finch covered with straw flower. One of my favorites is this one. It's the meadowlark, covered with corn husk, pampas grass, yuba grass, beaded wheat, or bearded wheat. What I showed you, you can see the tops.
Wow.
Almost sticking out on the sides. That's from the wheat. Magnolia leaves used as well. And to get the bumpy textures, they use corn leaves. Now, corn leaves is something new I saw this year. They were green leaves, actually round and very, very bumpy.
Not corn husks.
Not corn husks, corn leaves. Great float.
Beautiful, beautiful. Wings of Glory, big trophy winner there. Hey, here's the Scripps Miramar Saddle Breeds. This is a festive group. They boast 6 national champions. Look at those saddlebreds are silver parade saddles. Man, those must weigh a ton. World champ riders are wearing fancy Western costumes designed especially for the Rose Parade.
5.5 miles. These horses have to continue that little trot there.
Yeah, they can do it better than this next group. They've got to cheer here at the parade and then go to the football game. This is the Purdue University Rose Bowl gang. They're the cheerleaders, the yell leaders, and their float.
Purdue, of course, the Big Ten winners.
Yeah,
Their colors.
Why don't you talk about that? You come from the Big Ten.
Yes, yes, yes. Black and gold, the colors for Purdue. So, of course, the helmet is drenched with daisies and lots of daisies. 3,600 daisies to be precise. These are Gerbera daisies, although they look like the heat is starting to get to them just a little bit. A lot of moms on this float as well. We have red, of course, for the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, you got to have roses on every float at some point.
Yes. How many? Isn't there a percentage too?
I don't know about that. I just know that you have to have roses on every float, and if you don't, the judges knock you down there a little bit. These guys are more concerned about playing football today, though, really, than whether the Gerbers are holding up, I
Right.
think, a little
And
bit.
I'm sure they're happy to be here, too. Their weather is not.
Oh, you can hear it. You can hear it in the background. You can hear them coming down in the background. It's the Purdue All-American Marching Band from Purdue University, all the way from West Lafayette, Indiana. There's only 315 members, including their auxiliaries. It's the largest band in the Big Ten, and got to be one of the largest in the nation.
How many candles did they sell?
Should be a pretty good Rose Bowl today. Two terrific quarterbacks for the Huskies and the Boilermakers. Next year, the Rose Bowl, by the way, is not going to be on New Year's Day like it has been traditionally forever and ever and ever.
No.
It's going to be a BCS game next year.
And here we're going to demonstrate how they use the seaweed. This is nori. Those of you who like to make sushi at home, then you know you use the nori and you can make your roll. This is how they get this wonderful sheen as well as particular colors. So you can, and
Beautiful.
this is the crinkled version that I was talking
Oh,
about
is that
earlier.
it?
This is the crinkled
Looks like
version.
it's been cooked.
It's really interesting, and the effect is so beautiful. You
Wow.
can see how.
And then here, now look at this. For those extra onion seeds you have, here's what you can do. Grind them up, use them
This is ground onion seed?
for black. Yeah.
Yeah, really only two ways to make black: onion seed and seaweed, giving a metallic sheen or a matte sheen depending on how you use it. But that's really only the two effective ways to recreate black, like on those tires that you mentioned
Right.
earlier.
And you need it to
which
be
were-
very fine to get that deep, rich color.
Yeah.
So let's go back to
All
Greg.
right. The band has passed us, and coming along is American Innovation. Now, this is sponsored by Glade. It's got to be one of the better smelling floats ever in the Rose Parade. It's won the Animation Trophy, Best Display of Animation, Rebecca. And why would I say something like that?
40 moving parts it has here.
That makes it smell good?
That makes it smell. Here's what happens. Now, if you watch this, on the very back of the float, we have flowers that go up on the conveyor belt. The flowers then go through the tank, and out of the top comes perfume.
Ah.
And believe it or not, there is actually a fragrance coming out at street level under the car so that down below people are smelling something.
They've got 30 gallons of that coming out of the, the Atomite.
Yeah, body of the train here has a lot of beheaded orchids. These are purple Madame Pompadour orchids. Also, we have a lot of straw flower here that brings out the yellow. A lot of mums, a lot of roses for the pink color. The very back, we have some orchids as well. Off the top, you can see that's a little CO2.
This is their first year in the Rose Parade, and they've come up with a real winner. I mean, they're getting the animation trophy first year out. They're going to be pretty
It's a
happy.
very clean-looking float. Has nice features.
Look at all that stuff whirling around on there. My heavens, even got a propeller in the back.
Yeah, it looks like a into the future type.
They've got 15 tanks of CO2 on there that is helping propel the odor out there. The new fragrance. I shouldn't say odor, fragrance. It's a terrible thing to say. Glade, I hope you'll forgive me. Oh, hey, these are the Medieval Time folks. This Regal group featuring magnificent Andalusian stallions. This is from the Medieval Times dinner and tournament. That's in Buena Park, California, down by Disneyland, for those of you who've been out here. 14th consecutive Rose Parade appearance. And HGTV's commercial-free coverage of the 112th Tournament of Roses Parade is sponsored by Kodak and Ford Escape.
Oh.
You can hear the noise. You can hear the noise coming down. This is unbelievable. 40,000 watts of noise. This is a century of setting the pace. Sponsor is the Automobile Club of Southern California, which celebrated its 100th birthday on December 13th, and it has won the extraordinary trophy, most spectacular entry, including floats that can retract to 55 feet in length.
And well-deserved, Rob. You and I had a chance to look at this one. I was completely taken by it. an extraordinary effort here. You know, we were talking earlier about the black and the seaweed. Look at those tires, which incidentally say New Year. Aren't they beautifully done?
That's all that's the nori seaweed?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the seaweed. Incidentally, this float has more surface area than any other float in the parade.
Oh, look at the tires are going to smoke.
Oh, my God.
Even the inside of the float, because this is going to lift up, and you'll hopefully see in a moment, the inside was completely decorated with no less than 6,000 sheets of the black Japanese seaweed, much like we showed you earlier.
So this is like doing two floats, basically. They had to do the inside and the out.
Right. They nicknamed it the sushi float. It consists of so much seaweed and rice, they said it smelled like a sushi bar when you walked in. Larry Palmer from Phoenix Decorating gave us a wonderful tour of this.
That is incredible.
Yeah, Rob and I actually got up under the hood.
You know, it's got a I talk about the drivers. This has a teeny little camera in the very front on the tow bar because, like right now, the poor driver can't see. So he's got a small camera and a monitor so he can make this turn. And then when the top goes up, he's got a little better view.
Oh,
look at that thing.
That's great. Yes, indeed. Extraordinary trophy.
Now, it's the National Hot Rod Association's funny car. Gary Denshin actually repainted his car to match that. This is the Heritage Discovery Center, and they're depicting a notable individual or a group of people from our country's development between 1700 and the mid-1800s. That was known as the Golden Era of California. Beautiful, beautiful. Those are Spanish horses that they're riding.
I love the diversity in all the equestrian units.
Yeah, I know.
You know, you think it's going to be all the same. It's not. And the costumes are incredibly diverse.
In God We Trust is the name of our next float, and its sponsor is the Lutheran Laymen's League. Of course, that Laymen's League has gone on to Quilting Bee to create their 51st consecutive Rose Parade floats, 35 feet long. It's got a 35-foot long quilt, basically, which is a big one.
Yeah, and the quilt and the icons, lots of straw flowers, sweet rice, blue and purple status, green tea leaves, lunaria, all kinds of seeds. Even the stitching, look at the detail there. That's covered, the stitches are covered there with sweet rice. Lots of different icons representing religious faiths. And the stained glass portion to the rear, beautifully done. Nice story here, though, kind of a tribute to the spirit of volunteerism in America. The pedal pushers started out as just a few folks decorating this Lutheran Hour float 51 years ago. There are now approximately 5,000 pedal pushers who decorate all kinds of floats in the parade. It's a great story. Look at the stained glass effect there.
Isn't that something how they do that? It's translucent. You can kind of see through it, can't you, Paul?
Yeah, they'll sometimes use some mylar backed with dried materials.
Hey, here's the Penn High School Marching Kingsmen. They're from Mishawaka, Indiana. 296 musicians, and their director is G. Kenneth Rudolph. Here's the mayor of Pasadena. You know this guy gets a terrific float every year. This is Bill Bogart, and he's riding in the Rose Parade with his wife Claire and his son Matthew and daughter-in-law Lisa, daughter Janine, and son-in-law Francisco, their son Joseph and his wife Amy, and grandchildren Clara and Emily. And they can all fit into this 1928 Seagrave fire engine, which is cared for and operated by the Los Angeles County Fire Museum. That's a good gang celebrating a great day here in Pasadena. They have to be very happy.
Well, we have more materials to demonstrate. Now, we talk about the straw flower. This is an everlasting. This is how it looks when it's in bloom, and even when it's alive.
It feels dry.
Yeah, it feels dry. It's very pretty. It's very good color for yellow, but that alone sometimes isn't good for the color they need. If they need a real consistent, smooth color, they pop it in a blender and...
I don't know what speed, but I'm going with shred. They will then put it into a blender, and it will alter the effect, the texture, if you will, considerably. Let's see if we can make a mess and just pour some of this out.
They also use coffee grinders, too. Pop that out real quick, and let's take a look at it so we can look at the
Well, they're telling us we
Okay, you
don't
work
have
on
time
it.
to
We'll
do
come back. Let's
Yeah,
go take a look
we
at
only want to do this
parade.
when we got a little lull in the parade. It's time to go back down. And we can have a chance to see our next float coming up, which is Preserving the Wetlands. And the Wetlands Recovery Project is the sponsor, and it has won the Queen's Trophy, which is the best use of roses, Rebecca.
Yes, this one is very nice. They have over 30,000 orange star roses, Vanda orchids. Very nice. If we take a look, you'll see the trees dripping with these orchids. And what's really interesting is that they took chicken wire and they covered the chicken wire with crushed straw flowers so you can't see it, and then they weaved some of these flowers right into it. Very, very nice. Water lilies on this, protruding out all over the place. Phalaenopsis orchids, used a lot. We see that in the white color that you see off of this float. Also, animals, we have some turtles in there hidden away, the red-legged frog, which is endangered. This turtle now has Niger seeds, lentils, pistachios, and of course, you know, you can imagine when they had to put this on, what they do is they have these molds, they paint them with color, and then the volunteers come in with the product they have to use and place them exactly where the color. So it's kind of like painting by numbers. And what's interesting is that all the floral experts have two backups. So if one thing put on doesn't look right, they will exchange it for something else so that they have a backup for color.
That's a gorgeous sea turtle.
Yeah, isn't that nice? This one was a lot of fun, and you could see the swirls of water that were made there.
All right, here's the United States Marine Corps West Coast Composite Band from San Diego, California, 120 members. Everyone gets on their feet when this band comes by every year. Those are not the words for the song. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Of course, their pants are made with blue status and red carnations.
Now look at this guy. He looks like he's having a good time, just kind of gracefully strolling down the street.
That's Drum Major Gunnery Sergeant Charles R. Limka.
Very pleasant.
Their director is Warrant Officer Michael Laird. They turn off Orange Grove Boulevard onto Colorado Boulevard, another 5 miles ahead of them in today's parade. A lot of walking and a lot of playing. But it's beautiful weather and a beautiful day. And this is America the Beautiful, sponsored by Target Stores. The American bald eagle is magnificently depicted in this stunning national tribute.
Boy, it's so fun to watch these come down the road, because when we went out and toured these, you know, a lot of the floats weren't done. And now to see it completely covered is so amazing. Now take a look at that starburst. Those are wires covered with that crushed straw flower that we just showed you in the blender. They have to paint each and every wire with blue and then dip it in and get that straw flower to stick to it. And remember, every single inch has to be covered, so they have to dip and re-dip, making sure you can't see any of the wire. Now the eagle here is loaded with chrysanthemum, carnations, mahogany tea leaves, white button mums. Linaria is used, a lot of crushed coconut. That's where we could see the very smooth white texture there around the eagle's head. Very, very nice. We have the Washington Monument in the background. The monument, of course, covered with the same white materials of crushed sweetgrass. Very nice animated float. I'm sure the kids will really get a bang out of this one.
You know who's on that float?
Well, of course I know who's on
Well,
this.
who? Amy Grant.
Amy Grant.
Hey, here's a Western group. In fact, they're called the Western Group, riding a Missouri Foxtrotter with a special high-stepping gait. Jan of Sweden, he was with us, I think, last year, too. Leads this group of finest breed horses, outfitted with silver saddles, Western show outfits. That's got to be Jan. Look at the regalia hanging off the saddle. The silver.
Back home, we call that tack.
Tack. You would know that.
Yeah. Hey, just a reminder, by the way, you're watching HDTV's commercial-free coverage of the 112th Tournament of Roses Parade. This is Rob Weller, along with Rebecca Coles and Paul James, who's from Oklahoma and knows about tact from all those good horses.
I know tact. When to use tact.
Oh, I lack
Lack of tact.
That's okay. That's why we like him.
Okay, another winner headed our way, the
betcha.
Director's Trophy.
Home sweet home, and the sponsor is Dr. Pepper. They won the Director's Trophy, which is Outstanding Artistic Merit in Design and Floral Presentation.
And
this
again,
is a tall one.
Again, yeah, the kids are going to love this one. And, you know, that's been really nice with the floats this year. A lot of them very much geared toward the kids, which is really what it's all
This
about.
barely fits on the screen. This is so big.
Yeah, this one's good. This is a blooming playland. We have a shoe that is covered in the straw flower and mums, chrysanthemums. We have button mums that make the laces. But look around the shoe. Now, see that lady there rappelling?
Yeah, those kids look a little unruly to me.
Well, this lady had to work. How many weeks was it to be able to rappel down the side of this shoe?
2 months. 2.5 months, I heard.
2.5 months. As we take a look at the entire float, you can see nooks and crannies, people inside and out, kids on teeter-totters. Again, the teeter-totter is covered with the melaleuca bark. On the back, we have some very strange-looking trees. These, if you could see them up close, there's ornamental kale. You can barely see that there where the ripples are. Ornamental kale. So a lot of you may still have some of that out and around. Well, it's probably frozen, but there's a good use for some of that. Look how tall this is.
This is
Kids
great.
having a great time.
I love this. Speaking of kids, I'd like to say hello to Spencer, Dalton, and Hannah since they're not with me this year.
They're at home.
Thank you for
We miss
indulging
you guys. 40,000 roses on that one, by the way.
Really? This is the Fort Berthold Unity Riders. They're a Native American family group that's been working since 1994 as 100% volunteer group. They hold activities for the youth, elderly, and entire community year-round. The award-winning group uses the horse to help teach responsibility and spirituality and emphasize a drug and alcohol-free way of life. Good for them. People of the Americas is the theme of this next float. It's sponsored by the Oddfellows and the Rebeccas. Paul, you had a chance to get up close to this and say hello to some of those folks again.
Yeah,
We've seen their float every year, I think, the last 3 years.
I would be the odd fellow in this case, and Rebecca, of course, you're the Rebecca, but look at the detail throughout. The chest plate there with onions, avocados, red cabbage, eggplant, apples. Oh, goodness, I'm hungry. And, yeah, another one that makes me a little bit homesick. Also, rich detail on this teepee. Beautifully done. Largely with corn husk, trimmed with blue status, straw flower, flaxseed. Oh, and there you've got the buck and the doe, appropriately ornated with deerfoot moss. But you can see just how richly detailed this is. Those trees, I was so impressed with. The way they achieved this lichen-colored look on the bark was amazing to me. It's a combination of rice, onion, and cotton, the same stuff used to make the granite look, but here they threw in a little bit of cotton and a little more onion seed, and look at that. So not only from afar, but close up, it looks real.
Unbelievable.
Ooh, look at all that produce.
We've seen some good things to eat on some of the floats this year. We saw some kumquats and a lot of potatoes this year, too. We've seen them under the potatoes.
You're going to really see some great use of potatoes coming up. Yeah, I think I've seen more of that this year than in years past.
For cobblestone streets.
And fresh flowers as well, not just dried materials, but maybe a little bit more and more unusual fresh flowers as well.
I also noticed that a lot of the bases of the floats started off with a lot of greenery, evergreens. And I would imagine that that would be an easy way to make sure everything's covered so that if they miss an inch, that at least they've got something below.
Yeah, and they have to, apparently what they do is they manage how many flowers, how much greenery they're going to need for each float. almost down to the individual flower, because as we walk through the barns and said, hey, can we take one of these and show it on the air, they'd say, you know, I don't have enough of that this year.
Yeah, they wouldn't even let us have some stuff.
In fact, speaking of what we had to beg, borrow, and steal, we didn't.
We didn't steal it.
Skeletonized leaves. Now, this is a regular leaf, and what happens is when you soak it in water for about 2 weeks, you lose the membrane, and what's left is this skeleton. And they use this on a lot for the lacy texture that for feathers or for tails. Isn't that beautiful,
This
though?
is fun to look at. We've got a little lull in the parade, so it's a great opportunity for Rebecca and Paul to show you up close and personal some of the terrific arrangements and some of the materials used.
And here's some of the lunaria, which gives just a gorgeous effect. Sometimes called a dollar plant.
Yeah, I call that silver dollars up in Washington, where
It has a very nice shiny appearance, but still translucent.
How do they keep the flowers fresh on the floats?
Well, here's...
Was that a setup, or was that a setup?
That was. They have a lot of these water picks, so a lot of the roses and the more delicate flowers are put in here so they're kept hydrated. So let's go back to the parade and we'll see if we can see some of those
right down here
hydrated flowers.
On Orange Grove Boulevard, the Banda Escolar de Gallenia from Puerto Rico. 208 members. Director is Edgardo Alaquin, Banda Escolar de Gallenia, Puerto Rico. That's a good trip all the way to Pasadena. I want to remind you now, you haven't missed a float or a band or an equestrian group yet. We're so thrilled that we can bring you this coverage, stem to stern, as we say, without commercial interruption. This is a float called the Enchanted Expedition. It's sponsored by Rainbird Sprinkler Manufacturing Corporation. Last year they had a ton of water on there, and again this year because they won the sweepstakes trophy, which is the most beautiful entry, Rebecca. You were there.
6 cascading waterfalls on this one. They have 3 ponds, and well, you can't see the 24 misty nozzles that recreate this kind of woodland experience yeah, isn't this great?
Those are real waterfalls.
There is so much to talk about on this one because of the incredible color. Look at the palette of color. It's more in the, I don't want to say pastels, but it's a very soft, not real vibrant, very perfect for the wood. The animals were absolutely incredible. We saw raccoons that were covered with lichens and that bearded wheat that I told you about. The base here has nothing but roses spilled all over. 50,000 roses, 2,000 yellow roses as well. You can see then Oncidium orchids falling from the trees here. The trees would have been easy to recreate just by placing the bark over it, but they actually went in. These are aspen trees, so they went in and tried to create the veins, the different colors, the purples and the grays and the greens that you see in the aspen trees. So up close, you can see cranberries used for the reds, and the buttery leaves that you see on the top, of course, represent these trees in the fall season.
You can't believe the work that goes into these.
No,
that's what makes this, I think, the most unique parade in the world. There's just nothing else like it. Good job. Hey, here are the Riata Ranch Cowboy Girls. Riata Ranch Cowboy Girls have appeared in 17 countries. And they're riding a mixture of Appaloosa, Pinto, and Greens. And everybody, it's a dead heat. Look at that. Photo finish. For more in-depth information about the parade today, log on to the HGTV website at hgtv.com. You're going to find great details for each entry, all the floats, the bands, and the equestrian groups. We want you to know everything that you possibly can about them, plus everything you want to know about roses. how to grow them, dry them, maybe even eat them. That's HGTV.com. This is called Fresh Beginnings. Pardon me, Rebecca, I just bumped into you there. The sponsor is Heinz Natured Goodness, and this float depicts an infant and family enjoying the bounty of nature.
And this, by the way, is float number 57.
As it always is.
As it always is for Heinz. Look at the wonderful produce in the baskets there. I mean, this is a richly decorated float. I really loved it. Again, not one of the largest ones, but beautifully done. It's a wonderful scene. Look at this thatched roof on this little hut here, this little cottage. Yeah. It's so effectively recreated. I can't believe it was so nice to see this. Did you look at that? That's wonderful mulch, by the way. When this is all said and done, this is going in nearby gardens as mulch. The picket fence. I mean, what setting would be complete without a picket fence? And these dogs. These dogs took 50 hours per dog to recreate. They started out with a real stuffed animal and then applied pampas grass to them. And Paula, who did it, I forgot her last name.
Paula did a great job.
That was one proud woman, too.
We all wanted to pick up those dogs and pet them. It's like, hey, put those dogs down, buddy. Those 8 Percheron horses, by the way. The Ashwaubenon Jaguar Marching Band. Say that 10 times real fast. They're from Green Bay, Wisconsin, Rebecca. 270 in the band. Ashwaubenon High School. There it is. Ashwaubenon, thank you. It's all on that fast. Greg Saab is their director. It's your song.
It is.
Ashwaubenon Jaguar Marching Band from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Nice to have them here in the sunshine in Southern California. This float is titled We Serve the World, and its sponsor is the International Association of Lions Clubs.
I saw this one last year as well. You know, this one, these photos are first sketched, then they're put onto the float, and one color at a time is added from the inside out to recreate these wonderful, very lifelike photos. The images are recreated using straw flowers, lentil seeds, sweet rice status, maybe a little farina thrown in for fun there, Rob. And you know, I want to point out here, we in the television business refer to this as camera side, what you're seeing now.
Right.
But the fact is that the judges have to, they work themselves around the entire float. So don't think for a moment that only one side is decorated, for instance, to the nines, whereas the other side is neglected.
Right.
Every square inch is decorated, and it's worth bringing that up because, again, we see only this one side.
Yeah, and the parade route, about 1 million folks, pretty evenly packed on both sides. Very, very pretty. Here's the Kodak float, a bountiful harvest. Sponsor is Eastman Kodak Company, and it won the Isabel Coleman Trophy, which is the best presentation of color and color harmony. And it is, man, there's a lot going on this float, Paul.
Well, I would have given it an award for sure. I concur with the judges here. The pheasants are so gorgeous. Look at the red on the face there. That's anthurium, if you're familiar, that wonderful tropical flower. That's anthurium on the face. There's straw flower, lots of seaweed, all kinds of materials to use to decorate these pheasants. Lentil seeds, pampas grass, palm fiber. Look at the detail on the wings there. They're just stunning. This was a gorgeous float. And as you move down, you can see, again, a lot more detail here in those oak leaves. You see the little acorns in the lower left?
Right.
I love those. They had all kinds of pinto beans and dracaena leaves, flax. There's a nice shot back. Oh, yeah.
Boy, that pheasant is stunning. And it's huge. Absolutely huge.
This is one of those I just didn't want to get too close to. I was so nervous that I was going to...
Well, plus, you ran into the wings of the first float we saw.
Yeah,
You get pampas grass all over your hair.
I'm a bit of a klutz, I'll admit it. And when you get so close to this stuff, you just, I get a little nervous.
You're the only parade host that we had to vacuum after touring the float.
There's that acorn. Look at those Dracaena leaves on top, flaxseed in the middle, and the pinto beans wrapping around the base of the husk.
That's unbelievable.
Hey,
that's
a
great.
nice-looking acorn.
I think the floral aesthetics this year are just stunning. This is the Tournament of Roses president, Lauren Brown, along with his wife, Ursula. He's had a busy year planning and preparing for the New Year's Day ride along Orange Grove and Colorado Boulevard. Hey, and car buffs, you're going to love that. That's a 39 Packard Super 8.
Wow.
Look at those white walls. I can't see them yet.
That's sweet rice, by the way.
Yeah.
Look at those white walls. Man, oh man, I remember having a white wall. We had a Packard when I was a kid. You'd have to get out there and scrub those things down so they look extra sharp. FTD Force decorated the president's car. Do you know that this car, by the way, was formerly owned by Juan Perón and his wife Ava? You remember the musical Evita?
Oh, sure.
That's it. That's that Juan Perón. He had that car. He was driving around just like that one. This is the Lassiter High School Marching Trojan Band. They're from Marietta, Georgia, right down there in the Atlanta area. Hello to everyone in that area. There's 300 musicians, and their director is Alfred Watkins. Santana tune. Big hit this year.
One of my faves.
Lassiter, you got us moving and grooving up here at the HGTV broadcast booth. Very good. Lassiter High School Marching Trojan Band.
Lyrics from Rob Thomas of Matchbox 20. That was a great tune.
Very good. Hey, here's Mentoring in School is the title of this float. Sponsored are the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America, Paul. This is their first Rose Bowl parade appearance, isn't it?
And we're glad to have them. It's a fun float. Lots of detail. Here again, small float, but nevertheless packed with so much awesome detail. This is where they actually use some, well, look at there. Look through the door there. The detail, you can see the chalkboard in the back as you look through the door. And the kids are actually sitting on some of the red potatoes I'd hope to show you as a Cobblestone Road, but hey, you know.
Hey, they got a couple.
Would that be smashed potatoes?
Yeah, they would be now.
Potatoes.
And they're the window boxes with live material in them. Gorgeous plants.
One of the riders is Stacy Dracula, who is the gold medalist in the women's pole vault in the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. And also Miss Washington is on there. Samel Ford.
Talk about straw flower. Look how much was used to trim out the roof of this.
Gee whiz.
Gorgeous.
That's everything that was ground up, just like you were showing us a couple of minutes ago?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's that same stuff right there.
First, they have to cut it off the bud, don't they?
Yep.
And then put it in. So they
Yeah,
must have had some cutting parties.
And they have to cut it off fresh. They can't let it dry on the stem or the colors will fade, so they have to actually cut it off fresh first. Nice tree in the back there, too.
Beautiful.
Looks like everybody's having fun.
A nice addition to the 112th Tournament of Roses Parade.
They'll actually be doing a benefit back home for Big Brothers and Sisters later this month, so really glad to have them this year.
Hey, this is called Bonanza. Look at it. We're talking about water. We had the Rainbird float just a couple of minutes ago. Now, this is the Farmers Insurance Group, and they're the Grand Marshals Trophy. This is the most creative design, and Paul, maybe you can tell us why.
Oh, it's so cool because it's got so many different things going on. Look at those cars that are moving on the track there, powered by small lawnmower engines. And then the water flume itself, you've got 300 gallons of water flowing through here. Now, you know, we've talked before about how every square inch has to be covered with some organic material. There's an exception here, and the builders had to actually, and designers had to go before the variation committee and make a plea. What they asked for was an exception to the rule so that they didn't have to cover the inside of the flume with any material, because obviously the water's going to wash it right away no matter what it was. They were granted the exception and wound up with this incredible float. Lots and lots of paper bark, lots of redwood, the state tree of California, Rob.
Yeah. Always proud of that. Look at that is so cool.
I just love the ones where all that action is going on, and I was particularly proud of the gentleman's mustache.
Why? Because it looks like yours?
Well, if they'd used the Ming moss instead of cocoa fiber, it would have been a dead ringer.
Farmers has been in there for 42 consecutive years in the Rose Parade.
And here again, look at the depth. Roses, Gerbera daisies, orchids, yucca.
There's a fellow there helping that little, watch that little buggy come by. It gets a little scoot there in the corner. Just a reminder, by the way, you're watching HGTV's commercial-free coverage of the 112th Tournament of Roses Parade. I'm Rob Weller, along with Rebecca Coles and Paul James. He's the guy with the big mustache.
Ming Moss.
Ming Moss mustache.
I actually trimmed it.
Downington High School Blue and Gold Marching Band from Downington, Pennsylvania. Over 300 members, and their director is Brent Lewis. People to make that 105-degree turn, and they all want to keep that good, straight, tight line.
Can you imagine them practicing somewhere on the street?
Oh, yeah, they've been practicing. You don't come all the way to Pasadena without practicing. Look at that. It's a pretty good line there.
I mean, it's hard to find an area like that, to do an area large enough to
It's such an odd turn.
It is.
That's why we make such a big deal out of it every year. The floats just barely squeak by. The big bands have a tough time getting through that little narrow area.
We're told it's 105 degrees. I'm going to take my protractor out and measure it later to verify.
We're sending you down right after the parade. Hey, Paul, you like cooking. Here's a recipe for the American Dream, and sponsor is Smart and Final. This is the company's first Rose Parade float.
Well, they didn't have to go much farther than the kitchen to make this float, because everything you see here is from the kitchen. In fact, the face on this chef is cornmeal, paprika, cinnamon, and walnut shells, again, all ground together to create that beautiful texture. Now, the one thing that was really incredible with this float is the detail of the canisters. Every little gadget you see looks as though it could have literally come off of your kitchen table. The canisters are covered in coconut and beans. In fact, these here, this is the coconut, crushed coconut that you see. The black, of course, black lima beans made the fonts or the text that you see here. Take a look at that, the flour sack. Now here, raffia was actually weaved to create that texture you see. They used the black seaweed again for the flour. They wrapped each and every letter with the seaweed. The purple color you see there is from the Status, which has been crushed in a blender. Above that, you see a basket. Here, they took corn husks and literally pressed them on a machine, ironed corn husks to create these. This one is so much fun, and if you watch the chef rolling out the dough, it's on foam, so you can actually see it move as if dough did.
This is the foundation for the pure Spanish horse. The Andalusians are really known as the gentle giants, as the pure Spanish horse. And these horses were originally trained as war horses, believe it or not. They're called the Horse of Kings. And the riders are in authentic Spanish clothes, and two Mexican cowboys known as charros. Coming up immediately after the parade, it's HGTV Showcase 2001. Your chance to sample some of the HGTV's best shows and specials, starting with a fascinating look at some extreme homes from around the world. There's that blimp shot. Come on down to Orange Grove Boulevard, because we want to show you the Forever New Frontiers entry from the Boeing Company, saluting the fact that there are forever new frontiers and countless young Americans anxious to explore them, Paul.
Well, and I'll salute them for their effort here. That youngster is... Oh, well, skip the youngster. Look at the doggy. I guess I'm partial to the dogs, even though they aren't Welsh Corgis. But look at the dog there. Beautifully done with dockweed, palm fiber, and largely pampas grass, which we've seen a lot of this year. Pampas grass hardy to about zone 7. Those of you in outside that region, try something called, well, it's false or hardy pampas grass, they call it. The dockweed used on those cattails. Little animation here with a chirping bird.
There's a little frog at the back, too, that's bouncing up and down and doing a lot of croaking.
Oh, the frog. He's so cool, and those are Brussels sprout halves. They took Brussels sprouts, cut them in half, glued them on there to recreate that frog. I loved it. By the way, it's Arianthus was the name I was trying to think of for the false pampas.
I knew you were fighting for a name there. That's okay. I just called this the Rose Bowl Parade. It's the Rose Parade, Tournament of Roses Parade. Joplin High School Marching Eagles Band. They're from Joplin, Missouri, of course. There's 200,000. 200.
That's a big band.
200 in the band, not 200,000.
They play like 200,000.
They do. Look at them move.
Oh, a little quick stepping.
Whoa.
I could do that.
They got to do it for 5.5 miles.
I could do that.
These guys are good. Look at that. Good job. Oh, they get a nice round of applause here. We're right up on top of the VIP bleachers. These are all the folks who know someone, so they get a ticket to see the parade here at the start, which is where the home and garden cameras are located. So we can bring you floats like the Heartland, which is the city of St. Louis, Missouri. Featured on the float are both live and animated livestock, real and sculpted crops, a spinning windmill, and an actual stream flowing into a duck pond, Paul.
Hats off to the city of St. Louis. The wagon, I just loved. Palm bark and lots of crushed walnut they used to recreate that. You can see this wonderful detail. And there's some fine folks, no doubt, from the city of St. Louis. Glad to have them here.
They got the big team of Clydesdales, of course, pulling the float.
Look at the straw there. All that. I just love the use of this straw. It's a beautiful color, wonderful organic material, all the roses, and I tell you, we had a little controversy. I walked up to this thing and thought I was looking at a whole bunch of Dutch irises. Instead, I was looking at orchids, 3,600 of them, as a matter of fact. They fooled me. Lots of roses here. Look at the windmill. Love the windmill. Lots of sweet rice.
That windmill is animated, Paul, because there's not a breath of air here this morning in Pasadena.
No, and there's actually some water coming out and emptying into a little bucket right there.
Look at those Clydesdales.
See, I knew you'd know which horses.
This is the 48th consecutive Rose Parade entry, also for the city of St. Louis, Missouri. Love to have them keep coming back forever. Neat float.
Now here they've actually used some shingles, you notice there, but they were untreated, so that's okay.
That's a key.
This is called the Family Tree. It is the National Association of Home Builders, and guess what? It's the President's Trophy. Most effective use and presentation of flowers.
Yes, this float celebrates the family, which of course is the fabric of America. Now, do we have Lee Greenwood on this one? Do I hear? This one's a nice one. We have a water flume. 450 gallons of water per minute are being pumped down this flume. These kids, now this water is not heated. And although it's warm here, it's got to be some cool water up there.
Hey, their kids
a lot
are
of
happy.
tree bark here. It's made out of eucalyptus, linaria, melaleuca. They've used moms, the top, of course, oncidium orchids to create that lovely spray of flower. The very top of this whole scene is, of course, the playhouse, where it is covered once again in the seaweed for the shingles. You can see just the rods that they're holding on to Those have been covered with corn husks. The water wheel is spinning. That had to be applied. It's made with chilies, crushed chili peppers. So we saw kids yesterday, 2 days ago, with gloves trying to apply this to the water wheel, of course, trying to keep it out of their face.
Beautiful float, beautiful float. This is the Los Angeles Unified School District Honor Band from Los Angeles, California. There's 333 total members. Their director is Anthony L. White. Celebrating 100 years, the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles is the sponsor here. And at the Children's Hospital, they haul the kids around in little red wagons at the hospital to help to, lower the intimidation factor. And that's their theme here with this cute little teddy bear, right, Paul?
Yeah, there you've got the teddy bear, universal symbol of love, decorated in duckweed, palm fiber, mullet, firegrass, and lots of spices. But the wood there on the railing there, Rob, you and I got really close to that. That was beautifully done with paper bark and corn husks and those tires, as well as the iron piece. Well, look at there. There's a real radio flyer right there.
That's right.
There you go. You see that iron handle? That was the seaweed, and you and I both were amazed at how real it looked.
Yeah, you have to literally get up, and it's soft. It's furry. It's kind of like a little lamb's ear. It's just so soft and furry.
Yeah, it has a great texture.
Yeah. Hey, Roy Rogers and Dale Evans Museum Riders. Now, these are continuing the tradition of their parents and the West. These are the sons, the daughters, and the grandchildren of your Western heroes, Roy and Dale. Cheryl Rogers Barnett, Dottie Rogers Sailors, Rob Roy Johnson, Rex Allen Jr., and Ann Lockhart Taylor. Isn't that great? Good for them. Making Connections is the title of this next float, and its sponsor is La Cañada Flint Ridge Tournament of Roses Association.
And of course, highlighted here is the introduction of the trolley. The trolley has a roof that's made of melaleuca bark. Also, the rails underneath is what they call the bridge mix, unlike the granite mix. The bridge mix here is poppy seed and sweet rice. It was developed about 3 years ago on a stone bridge that was once used for one of the floats. And of course, the recipe changes every year and suddenly becomes the granite mix. And who knows, next year will be the fieldstone mix.
Look at that thing rock back and forth.
Yes, this is great. 40,000 mums adorn this trolley. Lettuce seed roof. Now, if you could see that texture there, teeny tiny lettuce seeds. If you've ever seen lettuce seeds, you know that they are small. We have clover seed. It is trimmed with poppy and onion seed as well. The fish is just adorable. The scales are made with silver leaf. Of course, we have the crushed straw flowers that give it that orange appeal. The eyes on the fish have the onion seed. You can see a basket. This is an easy one. Just fill up a basket hanging off the back. Of course, they had to wrap the pole with silver leaf to give it that chrome look. Very nice. Nice float.
And now, the spirit of volunteerism is right on its heels. This is from Sierra Madre Float Association. So La Cañada Flint Ridge and Sierra Madre are communities next to the Pasadena area here. This is their 84th Rose Parade, Rebecca.
Steve Gagney has been volunteering for 37 years. He is actually driving or up front. He has been honored for all his volunteer work. This fire engine is covered in 27,000 red carnation.
Wow.
Cranberry seeds also used here. The truck is pulling Mount Wilson, the highest peak looking over the LA basin. The mountains are covered with heath and a variety of different seeds. There you see Steve waving.
There's the observatory way up on top
yes,
of Mount Wilson.
And take a look at the snow. That is Jack Frost mums. How appropriate to resemble snow. This one's nice, and it is nice that this one is completely done with volunteers.
Look at that. Isn't that great? And that ladder goes up and down, so they got some hydraulics in there. The wheels are spinning. Good job. Nice going, Sierra Madre. Salem High School Blue Devil Marching Band and Color Guard from Salem, New Hampshire. There's 205 of them here who made the trip. We're glad to have them in Pasadena. And their director is Marty Clausen.
Want to start singing.
Yeah, I know. Great song.
Weren't you the one that admitted you couldn't sing?
Yes, I was, but I'm proud of it.
Hey, they raised money for the trip by selling pizzas, candles, raffle tickets, and they also host a marching band show and a live televised auction to raise funds. You know, it's expensive bringing 205 members out to Pasadena, California.
Many thanks to all those parents who are out supporting those kids, buying the pizzas, the candles, because without your help, they wouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's why we love to try to show you the bands and listen to. Maybe you can see part of your gang on there on the HGTV.
All right, we have another demo, and this one is great. This is how it is done. We've been talking about palm fiber, the bark of palm fiber. This is what it looks like. As I said, it was like a very loose muslin. But in order to get that very furry effect that they put on the bison and the bear, they take this little piece of wood that they've driven nails into. They take this bark, and they do... Now, I mean, try pulling this ball.
Right. It's not easy.
And this is what they spend months combing this fiber, and it's not easy. But that's how they get the very...
That's how they get that wonderful effect.
Yeah, you look good in the ball.
And I think it's better than the Ming Moss.
Home for the Holidays is the title of our next float. Its sponsor is the city of West Covina, California. It's a large toy train moving along the perimeter of the festive entry. Paul, you had a chance to see this.
Yeah, I did, and I really enjoyed it. The wreath at the top, lots of fresh foliage, fruit, roses, carnations. It's one of the things I liked about this float is it incorporated a lot of fresh and dry materials. The stocking's beautifully done. The little girl to the right, her hair is red pepper flakes and saffron. You see the fleur-de-lis pattern with blue status in the fireplace.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's just had a really wonderful feel. And the folks involved in putting it together, they were really into it. They were enjoying every minute of it.
It won the Mayor's Trophy for most outstanding city entry. Yeah. And you can see why. Very involved, very complicated, a lot of good stuff in there, but they really, that little train is so artistically well done.
That's a great feel to it. I just loved it.
City of West Covina.
There you go. There's a nice shot of one of the little...
When you garden,
dolls.
don't you always now look at plants in a completely different way, going, I think when I'm done with you out here, I can do my wall with you.
You know what else I think? I think I'm going to come up with some material that the people here haven't thought of as a decoration material. I don't think I'm going to pull it off. I think they've thought of everything.
Boy, it's unbelievable every year what they come up with, and the countries that participate, and the florists that come from countries to help put these together with the volunteers. This is called a grizzly situation, and it's put together by the Cal Poly Universities of Pomona and San Luis Obispo, and they work on this float separately, and then in Thanksgiving, about Thanksgiving time, they put it together.
That's cute.
And they did a great job. Now, again, this is a great example of that palm fiber being used to give those bears that, look at that. I mean, that's all of that palm fiber. Although the belly itself is cottonseed, which I just loved. Yeah, it had a nice little feel to it. The bunny there, shredded pampas plumes, and these weren't just whole plumes. These were shredded first, then applied. That took forever.
We met a group of folks, where were they from, Vermont or New Hampshire, that were working on this bunny?
Yeah, they were from Vermont.
Having a good time doing it.
Nice bunch of folks.
This won the Founders Trophy for the most beautiful entry built and decorated by volunteers from the sponsoring organization.
Oh, and here we're going to see the little raccoon with hyacinth root, which was a fairly unusual material. Oh, it's a beaver.
It's a beaver, I was going to say, Paul.
Well, I'm having trouble with my monitor here.
Hey, here's the Mitzpah Shrine Horse Patrol. 15 Palomino horses with matching silver saddles. Mitzpah Shrine Horse Patrol was formed in 1954 in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And the group has hosted a charity horse show for the past 47 years, with the proceeds benefiting the Shriners Hospital for Children. You know there's a good organization in place when you can make something happen for 47 consecutive years. For more in-depth information about the parade today, log on to the HGTV website at hdtv.com. You'll find great details for each entry, the floats, the bands, and the equestrian groups, plus everything you want to know about roses, how to grow them, dry them, maybe even eat them. Again, that's HGTV.com. My mom used to eat roses. If you're watching the parade on Web TV, you can actually rate each float by simply clicking on the interactive bar. You'll also discover even more exciting details about today's parade, including this float called A Winning Team, sponsored by the City of Duarte.
Great.
And that's California and the City of Hope Medical Center. They have two co-sponsors here, Rebecca.
Now look at the background here. You can see the russet potatoes that actually created the cobblestone. In between those potatoes, there's little tiny peach pits. It gives it that nice rocky texture. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? A great way of using it. And of course, there is the dog. The dog is covered with some sweet rice, a little bit of coconut. We've got a lot of flowers on this one: gladiolas, poinsettias, carnations, straw flowers, orchid petals used. The skin tone on the kids that you see, almost the back of their heads, that again was walnuts and almond shells, and they crushed them up. And here's the audience, just love it. Look at the sun coming down. We're up here. Maybe if we wave, you can see us.
Use your sunscreen. At least a 20 today, maybe a 25. A winning team. That was that cute little float. Here's the Glendora Tartan Band and Pageantry from Glendora, California. 151 members. Their director is Scott Schwartz.
I love bagpipes. I love the sound. It's so unusual, and they're remarkably hard to play.
Yeah, I know it. We have a piper who lives in our neighborhood. He plays every Halloween. The kids gather around. Yeah, it's really impressive. Story coming up on our next float that we're going to see here, Home of the Champions. You're going to get it in just a second. There it is. Sponsored by the City of Los Angeles. This cup that this represents was actually lost for 83 years. Bill Lofthouse is one of the float designers. Found it at a rummage sale, recognized that it was the lost cup.
You're kidding.
And so here they've made it now. This is the City of Los Angeles' float.
And it's been recreated now as a 35-foot version. And, you know, we've talked before about the use of silverleaf. I think here's one of the most impressive examples of silverleaf. Thousands upon thousands of these individual leaves were applied, and they had to be flat. They wouldn't accept any of the curly versions, so a good percentage of the leaves were actually rejected before they even made it onto the float. There's also some parsley flake in there to kind of give it a little hint of green. There's a great deal of detail there.
This is the 104th appearance for the city of Los Angeles, so you know these two cities, L.A. and Pasadena, get along well.
Look at there at the top. Nicely done.
Home of the champions. Here are the Galloping Gossips. Now, this is an all-female equestrian square dance group and drill team. They were founded in 1957. They're known for their versatility in performing high-speed drills as well as precision, authentic square dance routines. They got their...
And they can roll that tongue.
Yeah. This is the 112th Tournament of Roses Parade from Pasadena, California. Rob Weller, Rebecca Coles, Paul James, enjoying a beautiful Pasadena day.
Oh, the weather here has been terrific the past 3 days.
It has presented some problems with the flowers.
A little too warm.
But I'll take it, gang.
Yeah.
Ah, the All-American Barbershop Quartet.
This
sponsor is the Burbank Tournament of Roses Association. Rebecca, I'm sorry.
This is a product of Backyards Burbank program. In fact, a lot of the materials on this float were actually brought from the volunteers' backyards. They were told to go home and clean up their yards, bring the goods, and let's throw together the float. And I'll tell you, they did an extraordinary job. They only had one problem here. They were expecting thousands of anthuriums from Hawaii, but there was an awful storm in Hawaii. They couldn't get the anthuriums. So very last minute, they had to find something else, but that's always why they have a backup. Now, of course, taking a look at all these, we have the comb palm fiber on the bear once again. Lots of mums. In fact, we have thousands of white button mums. We have the red roses as well. Hats on the characters here were actual strands of raffia that they braided together and then weaved to create these great, great hats. The mustaches, now this is kind of funny. The mustache is a mystery grass. Nobody knows for sure where it came from.
Aha.
Not even Paul.
I'll find out.
I think it came from Paul James.
I'll find out.
This is the Salvation Army Tournament of Roses Band from Los Angeles, California. There's 250 of them, and their director is Bill Cord. This is their 81st consecutive appearance in this parade. Started back in 1920. They get their folks from Salvation Army units throughout Southern California, and they also have some folks from Philadelphia helping them out this year. Hey, here are the Rodeo Rowdies. Now, the sponsor is South Pasadena Tournament of Roses Association, and the float offers a look at a trio of rodeo clowns trying to provide assistance for a stranded cowboy, Rebecca.
Now, this one is a completely self-decorated float. And that's important to mention here because that meant that people had to come in. December 26th, they started working on this float. And remember, we talked about many of these floats have been in the process of things getting glued on weeks and weeks ago. They just started on this one. And look, it is done. They've done a beautiful job here. The bull's body and the clown wrapped up in the barrel. That's the silver leaf that Paul talked about on the barrel. Of course, once again, we have the seaweed. That's the green you see. The yellow straw flower in a blender once again. The side you see what appears to be kind of a camouflage is a variety of different beans and, of course, some crushed sweet rice and different spices. The city of South Pasadena, each letter was individually wrapped with raffia. There are tiny toothpicks that have been wrapped in chili to make it look like cacti. But take a look at the bull's tail.
And they started on this less than a week ago.
Less than a week ago.
Not too many cars on the freeway. That's the lightest traffic I've seen coming through Pasadena in years.
They are all here
all
enjoying
here.
the parade.
They
By the
really-
way, have you seen a commercial yet?
No, not a
I
commercial.
haven't. What a great deal.
American Donkey and Mule Society's in front of our cameras right now here at the starting line on Orange Grove Boulevard. Though modern donkeys and mules are primarily used for recreational purposes, this trusty animal helped build roads back in 1922. They hauled wagons full of dirt from Pasadena's Arroyo Seco to make the modern Rose Bowl Stadium we're going to see later today. HGTV's commercial-free coverage of the 112th Tournament of Roses Parade is sponsored by Kodak and Ford Escape.
Okay, so let's see what we can play with today. What kind of props do we have?
Quick little lull in the action here
You
on
go
the parade
first.
room.
Well, this is a mahogany pod from the mahogany tree. It's a little 5-valve seed capsule here. Inside are a bunch of 2-inch wing seeds, but these were used in a number of different ways to create a new look. I hadn't seen them until this year.
This is a silver leaf that we've been talking about, and you can see it's a stem. Here, each leaf has to be pulled off, and then remember, Paul had mentioned that if it's curly, on some instances, they couldn't use it. So either they had to figure out if they could flatten it, or they'd have to discard it. But people in the background do nothing but pull these off and feel the nice texture, and it does give it a very shimmery kind of silver look.
It's
great material.
So labor-intensive,
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it's really nice.
All right, now the blending of cultures is our next parade float, and it's brought to us by the International House of Pancakes, IHOP.
Yeah, I had a chance to look at this one, and I was really impressed with the way, I think this depicts how you can take the same basic materials and create any number of different architectural styles. In this case, they've done a number of different styles, including, wow, look at this cart, by the way. Look at the cart and the beautiful little brick path. Straw flour they use to make the bricks, and then lettuce seed for the mortar. You've got carnations and sweet rice on the cart itself, and you can see how, again, all kinds of different styles represented architecturally, including this wonderful Chinese motif there at the end.
This was developed by Leticia Orozco. She was a 12-year-old float rider, and she won the contest.
Wow, good
that
job.
IHOP has every year. Hey,
Congratulations.
they're the Rocky Mountain Riders. Look at them, Rocky Mountain Riders. They're wearing authentic handmade buckskin outfits.
Do you suppose they're heating up under that?
Oh, man. They got raccoon hats, and moccasins, and beads.
They're having a good time. The
Winter
audience
fur.
is loving them.
Yeah, you don't need a winter fur today, that's for sure. But that's what they used to look like in the mid-1800s in this area.
Oh, I'm sure.
They're getting some hoops and hollers. There must be some mountain men in the audience here today. Just a reminder, you're watching HGTV's commercial-free coverage of the 112th Tournament of Roses Parade. Rob Weller, along with Rebecca Coles and Paul James, and a float called Sea Quilt. The sponsor is the city of Long Beach, California. It's their 84th consecutive year in the Rose Parade. Paul, and you got to check this one out. You were very impressed.
Yeah, this is a great float. I tell you, look at this woman's mermaid's face and hair. Just incredible. Lots of straw, raffia, flaxseed, as well as coffee. One of the first floats where that I recall where coffee seed was used. Coffee beans ground, although they couldn't roast them to create the certain brown look because that would break the rules. So they had to,
Oh, is that right?
yeah, they weren't allowed to tamper with them to that extent. By the way, there's a little Queen Mary depiction there. Speaking of Long Beach, she's docked over there in Long Beach Harbor, right, Rob?
Yeah, all the icons around the base represent things that are in the city of Los Angeles. The aquarium and the Queen Mary and all the good stuff they've got there.
And the fingernails. Look at those fingernails. I tried to guess what they used to create that look.
Nice,
Because it's an unusual color. Anyone fancy a guess? Dehydrated strawberries.
What? Dehydrated strawberries.
That's how they got that color. I loved it.
And what they do? Then they ground it up? Wow. How would you ever figure that one out?
It's amazing what they come up with here. Again, look at her hair, flowing hair.
That's nice.
Anybody here from Zurich, Switzerland?
Not me.
Well, these folks are. 65 total band members from the Zurich City Police Band, all the way from Zurich, Switzerland.
Oh, that's great.
Their director is Werner Strassmann.
What was that name?
Werner Strassmann.
Very good. And boy, the crowd is giving them a nice welcome.
You know, we'd be lost without Rob's multilingual capacity.
Yeah, right. Give me a break. Good-looking beret. Nice blue beret they wear from Zurich, Switzerland. One of 20 Swiss police bands. Now, this is called Getting to Know You. Its sponsor is Thai Airways International PCL, and it won the Craftsman's Trophy, Outstanding Showmanship and Dramatic Impact over 55 feet in length. And Rebecca, this has got a lot of stuff on it.
Hands down, one word. Fabulous.
Wow.
This is so incredible. First of all, what's very interesting about this is the king and I. The Royal Palace in Thailand provided the uvas, which you see there. These are tiny little flower heads called crown flowers that are threaded like beads. It takes 1 day to produce what you saw hanging there. They are hanging around the float. These were shipped in 2 days ago when we were visiting this one, and people were busy trying to get them strung on top of this float. Of course, the main color here is yellow, lots of yellow. They got the yellow with the straw flower, with moms. There are Thai dancers on this float. We have beautiful yellow roses. You can see the white here is created again with the crushed sweet rice. Very, very nice.
One of my favorite cuisines, Thai. What do you say we all go out for Thai?
That sounds great. There's over 1,000 specialty orchids on this float.
12 traditional Thai dancers are riding the float, too. This is the Valley Hunt Club. The Valley Hunt Club was founded in 1888 by a group of women and men who went on to establish a little something called the Tournament of Roses in 1890. And then they sponsored the event for the first 6 years, and then it became what we're doing here today, a Tournament of Roses parade. That's a Kimball Park drag carriage that they're in. It's made for a family in Chicago somewhere around the 1880s. And then they've got 4 Visalian Frisian horses, and they're escorted by 4 outriders. Hey, this is the Young Pioneers. Look at this thing smoking up. It looks pretty good. The Optimist International has sponsored this. This is their 6th consecutive Rose Parade, Paul.
Great job with this. That wagon, so realistic. You look at the top of it, that's sesame seed on the top, and then they've got corn husks kind of inside, so they decorated both inside and out for the judges. You get a little glimpse of the inside of it there in that left margin. And of course the paper bark used on the wagon. But look at the saguaro cactus. What's so cool about it is they use eucalyptus leaves as a base, if you will. Then they took prickly pear cactus, cut them in half, let them callus, and glued those on to give it this incredibly lifelike look of a saguaro. So they used a prickly pear to make a saguaro, basically.
I got that. Let's say hi to the Diamond Bar High School Marching Band from Diamond Bar, California, with 245 members, and their directors, Tim Bryan. parade route. Look at all the people lined up. This is literally 5 miles. Lots of folks. Over 1 million people come to this every year.
Oftentimes when we come to the parade, we find flowers that have never before been used,
Yes.
nor have they ever been sold. This is a brand new Aloha Rose, which was used today. Yeah, look at that. It's only 3 weeks old and eventually will be available to the public. How's it smell?
It's got a bit of a scent.
Does it have a fragrance?
It's subtle, but it's got a
very
little bit.
subtle, yes. Very nice. But you can see nice yellow inside. It looks like it's dipped in like a burnt orange paint. Very nice. One of the things. Here's another one. Yoko Ono.
That's right. Nice little button mom. A beautiful color. This lime green. I just love it.
It is great.
And this one, yeah, it's named after and a tribute to Yoko Ono.
Let me show you an example of maybe some of the things we've seen. Let's go back to the parade. The Central Park Fashion on Parade float is
And of course,
in front of us right
the
now.
flowers we just showed you are actually on this float. This is the first time they've ever been seen. The Aloha Rose, the Yoko Ono mums are here as well.
This is the Downey Rose Float Association, and it's the winner of the Lathrop K. Leishman Trophy of the most beautiful entry from a non-commercial sponsor, Rebecca.
Now, you know, I saw this a few days ago. It wasn't quite all the way there, and boy, it's beautiful. Now, the thing that makes this, the stonework is just unbelievably accurate down to the detail. The stonework was done with, again, sweet crushed rice. In fact, they gave me the recipe. 2 parts sweet rice, 1 part onion seed. A lot of the stonework was actually molded with clay, let it dry, and then they applied the different,
I see.
the different
I was
seeds
wondering
and
if that was
whatnot.
maybe foam and they carved it out, but they built it up with clay.
Built it up with clay. Now here, of course, we have beautiful sprays of flowers. These are orchids just dripping all over the place. Of course, this is a stroll through Central Park back in the 1890s, so a very refined float of what life might have been like back then. Again, you can see the statues, impeccable with detail. Again, they use pretty much the same stucco mix, adding a little more poppy seed to get the gray tones here. Great float.
Beautiful float. These are the Oklahoma Legends, Paul. They're here in honor of you. This lively group emulates the 101 Ranch Wild West Show, the largest show of its kind in the world, portraying famous cowboys, including Tom Mix and Will Rogers and Pawnee Bill. This group travels across the country promoting the Old West, Oklahoma, O-K-L-A-H-O-M-A, and Western museums.
Nicely done, Rob. Thank you.
That was in your honor, Paul, and everybody in Oklahoma. Look at that, dude. Doing a little trick. We got a roper down here. He's been doing a roping trick, and everybody's responding.
We got a horse without a rider in the back there, though. I'm about ready to jump on.
I think that's the, there's a fellow who's doing a roping trick, and then he gets off and jumps back on. Take a look at this teddy bear. It's called Teddy Bear, an American original. It sponsors the city of Torrance, California, and it won the Princess's Trophy, which is the most beautiful entry under 35 feet in length.
And of course, it honors Theodore Roosevelt, who went bear hunting apparently, couldn't shoot the bear, and that's why the teddy bear, how it was named. First of all, this portrait I got to show you. This is seed art at its finest. 14 different shades of seeds put together, 7 different materials to create an actual, what looks like a photograph of President Roosevelt. The tops are spinning on top. They are covered with yellow button mums. Magenta is the dendrobium orchids. They're florets. The vibrant orange you see, marigolds. Very nice. We have some crushed straw flower once again. White is a variety of coconut that has been shaved. We have sweet rice once again used here.
You made me sample that coconut.
Yeah, and not bad, was
Yeah,
it?
was pretty
Little
good.
dry.
Unsweet.
A little dry.
If you're a judge, how could you possibly figure out
You know,
who gets the award? It's just unbelievable.
when Paul had mentioned the judges having to go one side and I don't know. What do they look for? I mean, because each one is so great. It's so different from the other.
Well, and I've judged a number of flower shows. I'm sure you have as well. And it really is difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're looking at so many different elements. It's not just the first impression.
Hey, this is from Hawaii. This is the Hawaii Pa'u Riders. The 8 Hawaii Pa'u Riders are wearing island colors, leis, traditional Hawaiian costumes as they make their 6th Rose Parade appearance this year. And do you want to know what their queen's name is?
Yes.
Lita Loea Carrillo Cook.
You sure?
Lita Loea Carrillo Cook.
Ooh, you were really good.
Well, I speak fluent Hawaiian.
As well as numerous other languages. Swedish.
Yeah. Got a little Zurich in there not too long ago. This is the Rancho Bernardo High School Royal Regiment from San Diego, California. Good vacations and resort. I bet you a lot of people watching today on Home and Garden have been down in that area for a nice vacation. 225 in the band, 52 in the color guard. And of course, they got a drum major, and their director is Tom Cole. It's 2001.
No.
Where did the time fly? Where did the time fly?
They say as you get older, it goes faster.
Thank you. Well, there's a little low. We'll let the group from Rancho Bernardo get out of the way here. What do you got to show us?
You know, I don't know exactly what I have
That's
to show you
millet.
here, Rob. This is the millet, but it's been dyed because that's not
No,
the
it's a
natural
different color. It's actually a different color of millet. And it comes from a different country.
Comes like that. Native to the grass family, milo, millet, sorghum.
What do you have next to this?
You can see, though, look, if I take this and do this,
you make a big mess.
I make a big mess, but that's the kind of material that would wind up being on the float.
And, of course, the soft pampas grass. Is that Yuva?
Hard to beat. No, that's the pampas.
Good. Let's take a look. Coming up is the hometown slugger. Oh, look at this slugger. He is so, look at that. That's a great look. This is the city of Glendale, California, right next door to Pasadena.
Only one thing I like more than a parade, and that's a good baseball game.
You got it here, baby.
And I'm telling you, I love this one. First off, my first impression was I noticed there was no AstroTurf. That's real grass on that field. And the cleats, the detail. Look at the shoelaces there.
Goodness.
The wonderful use of the sweet rice for the shoelaces as well as powdered rice. Yeah, there's that turf. Home plate.
Home plate.
Yeah, that's more of the sweet rice, powdered rice. And the bottom of his cleats even decorated with some silver leaf and onion seed. The shoes themselves are the black seaweed.
Boy, he took a big swing. We're going to have to hire him for the Dodgers.
Now look at the base of his right foot, though. You'll see he's in the stadium, in effect. Speaking
wow,
of
it looks like
stadiums,
real people.
It looks like
that
real.
That float is unbelievable.
See what they're able to do with all these materials. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I think that's us. There we are, right there.
Yeah, wave. See our banner on top?
Yep. Look at all those folks. Norton Simon Museum right up there at the top of your screen. And here comes the Martinez family.
Now this guy's going to have a sore arm by the end.
Benny Martinez Jr., who has been called the finest trick roper alive, leads the Martinez family. And he's got about 15 feet of rope going around he and his steed. They're in those handmade charro suits. They're right atop handmade Mexican saddles and side saddles for the ladies.
Wow.
Beautiful. This is the 21st consecutive year the Martinez family has been in here. They've performed all over. You may have seen them in Vegas or Melody Ranch or Disneyland. Just saw one of the Rose Parade white suits. These are the volunteers from the Pasadena area that help do all the volunteer work, the committee work all year long, do a terrific job keeping it organized.
Keeping us in line.
Keeping us in line.
They have been
keeping Paul in line. Let freedom ring. This is the sponsor family of the Freemasonry, Paul.
What a great float. Look at the Constitution.
Everybody's
right
on
up
their
front.
feet.
Yeah, well, they should be. Right there up front. That sesame seed is the paper itself. It's trimmed with some paper bark to give it that ragged edge look. And then lots and lots of onion seed used to create the writing. We watched a young man who was literally hanging upside down as he was applying the sesame seed to the Constitution. Of course, the beautiful Liberty Bell here that's done so well in Silverleaf. And, well, there's old Glory herself. Lots of the paper bark there on the support. The quill pin, that's all pampas grass. It's a beautiful, beautiful recreation of a quill pin. I loved it. All nicely done, and I think a fitting tribute.
Hey, there's the Rose Bowl this afternoon, 1:30.
Purdue against Washington.
Yeah, big Rose Parade, big Rose Bowl, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful day. Parade is over. I can't believe it. Time has just gone by.
Oh, it has.
2 hours and 16 minutes it lasted this year. Final thoughts?
I can't wait to come back next year.
Same here, gorgeous weather. First time we weren't freezing in the morning, and then, you know, I mean, I'm actually warm today. I love this.
Yeah, it's great. This is going to be beautiful weather. We hope you enjoyed having a chance to watch the parade. And it's been really great fun working with you guys again this week and going through the barns and meeting the volunteers and watching Rebecca learn all about.
Trying to make a fool of herself.
Well, you did pretty well there. You were decorating one of the big crabs there in the seafood in the seafood
with Chilean spices.
Yeah, and you were blowing that on there. That's really great. We have a good time learning to see how things go and how it's all put together.
That's fun.
Happy New Year to both of you. I'll see you again next
year. Same to you and to all of you.
Yes.
Well, that is going to do it for this year's Tournament of Roses Parade. You can see the parade again tonight, beginning at 8 o'clock Eastern, right here on HGTV. And coming up next, the New Year's celebration continues with HGTV Showcase 2001, a sample of HGTV's best shows and specials, and it all begins with some amazing extreme homes from around the world. For everyone here who's put the parade together, Peter and Freddie and Kevin and the whole gang and Rebecca Coles, Paul James, and I'm Rob Weller, Happy New Year, everyone.